What a bullet! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes, and Burnley leading the derby.
Oxy quickly finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell. Saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
Only by Fulton Teller. Off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day.
Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson. Can he go on the outside? Comes inside. Comes up a shot.
Oh, what a goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class.
Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello and welcome along to the latest instalment of the TurfCast podcast full-time show with me, Joe Redmond, after Burnley battle to a point. It's 2 games without defeat now for the epic Clarets, who have stopped the rot. But ultimately, let's be fair, it's still not good enough. But they were better. However, if you are watching on YouTube, you will see that the first vote that we already have on the YouTube channel is about the new Christmas background, which you can't actually see behind me just yet, but you will be able to see in a second when I bring them in, because we do have a little festive Christmas background up behind us, just like I did when I did the Glenn Little podcast recently. But Sam immediately said, what on earth is this snazzy background? Get rid. It's not even Christmas anymore. So what are we doing? But I'll bring all the lads in. We've got Andrew. We, of course, have Sam as well. And we have Daniel. How are we doing, boys? Did we all have a good Christmas?
Oh,
right, yeah.
Wasn't even in the country.
Yeah, well, you went to Estonia, didn't you, Sam? The images on Instagram looked great, by the way. It's a country that I've always wanted to go to.
Unbelievable.
It does look nice. To be fair. How was it, mate? Was it good?
Yeah, I was obviously. It's not it doesn't seem like a normal place like people go, and then turned up. It was mint. I'd go again.
Fair enough. So you're not liking the background. Get your comments in about the background as well. Nathan's in the chat. He says, Merry Christmas, Turfcast lot. Merry Christmas, Nathan. Hope you well, mate. Hope Stan had a good birthday yesterday. He says, keep the background just to wind Sam up. That more likely to prod the bear, and we're going to get a rant, aren't we, if we keep the bear prodded. Big Les Lover says, we're having shots, so improving in my opinion. That's in response to Henna, who says no shots on target. And that is the main problem with yesterday, isn't it? We were better. We did look better. But ultimately, the shots on target just goes to show that the lack of quality is actually a thing. But before we get into the game, and I will come to the it's 50-50 at the minute, the poll, by the way. And I will, whatever you lot decide on YouTube will decide whether or not we keep the background. So get your votes coming in and let me know what you think about it in the comments. But before we get on to the game itself, I will come to Daniel first on this one. There are some reports this morning from Transfer Don Fabrizio Romano. I don't know if we can still call him Transfer Don or more a case of agent, I don't know, pen pusher. Is that a term? Because he will just put whatever out there that agents say. But according to Fabrizio Romano, obviously, if you're not watching on YouTube, you won't be able to see if you're listening back to the podcast at a later date. He says Ajax made first club. I know he's not English, but this is very hard to read, Fab. Basically, he's saying that Ajax have made contact with Burnley about the Quintessili Hartman situation. He's one of the main targets for Ajax this window. Obviously, Hartman has been dropped recently due to his poor performances, due to his lack of desire. There has been some rumours before about him, not necessarily in his time at Burnley, but maybe at his former clubs, that he did have an attitude problem. So maybe he's reacted badly to being dropped. Maybe he reacted badly to being singled out by Jamie Redknapp and a lot of the fans. And maybe he was singled out, I don't know, in a post-match sort of like review by the coaching staff. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know anything that goes on in the club. But that's just me thinking out loud. But it's a bit of a weird one. It's not even been here 6 months, Dan. But already reports of him leaving. What are your thoughts on it, mate?
Yeah, I've not heard of this. This is my first time hearing of it, and I think it's a really strange one. But it does sort of make sense when you kind of put everything together. Of if we kind of look at Hartman's performance and quality from the start of the season to what it's been most recently of when he has been on, it's gone completely downhill. I don't think he's been used as a scapegoat at times, and you know he has been given a lot of hate. But that being said, you know, I think this is just odd. There was I know that people talked about his attitude problems. I think he was at PSV where he was before, so it wouldn't really surprise me if he was wanting to jump ship already, especially with us going down. Yeah, I suppose it also makes sense why he's also not playing, and we're playing Lucas Perez instead. It'll be interesting the fee we give if we do let him go in January, because one, we have just signed him. Two, we are letting go possibly a crucial player in a January window. And I don't see any reason why we should sell him for less than the figure that we bought him for. It's hard to say. I quite like Lucas Perez, so if he does go, I have no issue with Lucas Perez continuing in that position. I think he's been pretty decent. I think in the games that Lucas Perez has played, he's been pretty consistent. And yesterday I saw moments that he really helped with momentum. So if Hartman is to go, so be it. I don't want players at this club that want to jump ship after 6 months. So if you want to go, see you later, mate. You can go and join the likes of Weghorst. Not fine by me. But yeah, really strange if he does go and he does want to go. And if he ends up going to Ajax, I think I'll forever look at it as, well, that was a weird one. Yeah. Well, that's probably all I can say on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Keep your comments coming in. FPL Bix says, with Humphreys back now, I'd be playing him left back. Yes, I think Humphreys would be probably better suited to left centre back personally, like he was yesterday. Nathan says Hartman didn't post a single thing on socials around the Everton game yesterday. The first time he's done that all season. Morning, says Jamie Brown. Morning, mate. Henna says, I think Perez did good. I think he did all right, Perez. I think he did all right. Defensively, he can look a little bit suspect, but I do agree with Danny. Helped us in the moments going forward and building momentum. But I think pretty much every left back we have at the club at the minute, even fullbacks, is quite suspect defensively, but can be quite good going forward. Brian says, cash in. He set off like a house on fire, but soon petered out. I'm unsure why, because he can play, and I agree with that. And I think it's mainly due to the fact that it's not down tools, but I think it's not the type of player you want in a relegation dogfight. Get that Parker poll up, says BFC 1882. I will do sort of like later on when we get onto the Parker situation. We will be discussing that, even though I feel like we discuss it every week now, but it's what people ask us into the comments to discuss. And we are one of the channels where we do discuss what the people tell us to discuss, because we are the podcast for the people. In fact, I'm not going to do that, because as soon as Stephen Bunting started calling himself the man of the people, everyone started hating him. So we are not the podcast for the people, because I don't want you all to start hating us. But we will carry on to discuss the things that you want us to discuss. First of all, the poll that we currently have up is, shall we keep the Christmas background or get rid? I promised you all whatever the outcome of that was, I will do. And it's currently keep at 58%. So sorry, Mr. Grinchmas or Sam, but we are keeping the Christmas background.
I could accept that we are a podcast for the people. So if that's what the people want,
which is fine. As long as you don't hate the whole TurfCast team. Official Platinum. Speaking of darts, Official Platinum RP says, morning everyone, morning mate. Simon says, if we make a profit on him and sell Perez and one of his two left backs is fine. Right, I didn't want to dwell too much on the Hartman thing, because obviously we do need to talk about the game. I'll come to Sam first on the actual game. So, Sam, your thoughts on the game itself yesterday, please, mate.
I thought it was a much better performance. I think we were on the front foot. We were taking the game to Everton, which is what we've been screaming for weeks. Is, can we finally just ride the first 15 minutes, get a foothold in the game, and be the team that's on the front foot, be the team that's going wave after wave. I do think we did that. However, I do think I think we were the better team.
I agree. Yeah.
But the stats don't necessarily back that. We had more possession, but they still had the same amount of shots. They had more shots on target. We had no shots on target. Again, it just feeds into this whole thing of going forward. We are just inept at scoring goals. We don't have that out-and-out goal scorer. We don't have that pattern of play that gets us into the right areas. I think Edwards was great. I think that was finally what we've been looking for, is somebody who, I mean, I said it in the in the chat. It's that ball into the middle of the field on the half turn where he just gets it, spins, and his first instinct is go forward. Even when he was on the wing, duking left and right, he's a nightmare for defenders, and it's exactly what we should have had for long spells of this season. I think Brozier played really well as well. I think his hold-up play was absolutely quality. I think his ability to try and drive towards goal was really good. However, in saying that, the main thing that we lacked yesterday was getting the ball into the right areas. We did that quite a lot of times, but we kept, and they said it in the commentary, we kept trying to overplay and try to score the perfect goal. Just hit the ball and see where it lands. That's why so many teams in the Premier League score. They don't always score perfect goals where the ball's in the box and someone gets a glancing head on it, or somebody, it gets played into the box and somebody comes running onto it. It doesn't always work. Sometimes you just need someone to get to the edge of the box and have a go and see where the ball lands and see where it ends up. I mean, the main one that stands out for me was there was a great bit of play from Edwards, and we'd ended up shifting it over to the left-hand side, and Cullen was running onto the ball. And rather than shooting as he came onto it, he nicked it to the right to play it to Perez or somebody. And then we ended up losing the ball, and it was like this ricochet pattern of play. And we kept getting the ball back and then not putting it in the box or not actually creating something from it. And there were so many occasions where I just thought, we're in a relatively decent position to just have a go at something. We're down there in the table. We need to just have a go at trying to find a moment that breaks the game down. And I just didn't think we had that in us. And I think the more the game went on, the less and less likely I felt like we were going to score. And then it brings me on to the main point that I've got is we're not in a position now where performances are a thing. That's what your first 15 games are for. Performances are first 15 games. We're not there now. And Parker's substitutions, and Chris said it, and I do agree with him. Parker's substitutions going like for like, keeping a 5-back for as long as we did in a game where we have the full foothold in the game. Like, yes, Everton were creating chances, but they were creating chances on the counter-attack. We had all the momentum. We had all the patterns of play. We were playing the football. Why are we swapping Edwards and Brozier for Fleming and Trezor with 6 minutes to go? Why are we bringing players off and putting a player in that same position? I would have rather seen Fleming come on the 70th minute, put him up front with Brozier, and give us two strikers, more attacking players. If we don't win, you're not going to sit there and go, bloody hell, Burnley have lost. You're going to turn around and say, the performance was good and we actually went for it. And if they score a goal on the counter-attack, you actually sit there and you go, at least we were going to try and win the game. Whereas what we've ended up doing is we've come to a game where we've played well, we've drawn 0-0, and that does no good for us whatsoever. Because if Leeds get a result today, it's already pretty much over.
Yeah, well, I think it's over already, personally.
Yeah, and I don't think we get out of it, but those games are the best opportunities, and we don't want to get to the end of the season and come back and kick ourselves for Everton at home where we drew 0-0, but we should have won the game.
And let's not forget, it's a depleted Everton side. Dewsbury Hall injured, Grealish had an illness, Idrissa Gueye at AFCON, Iliman Ndiaye at AFCON. So while I agree, and you do make some good points, that I feel like we were the better side, but we still just showed a lack of quality when it came to the shots and stuff. You mentioned the stats there. Apologies, the comment is now over Dan's face. I'll just quickly get rid of it. But you mentioned the stats there. I'm not sure how much you can see that. Depends on what sort of device you're watching what you're watching on. But just quickly get it up on my screen so I can see it a bit clearer. This mouse is absolutely gash. Despite the fact that we didn't have a shot on target, we still managed to get an XG of 1.41. Now, I know some people don't like the XG, and I think like every time I mention XG, I have to caveat that with that. But if you don't like it, you don't like it. It is what it is. But to me, that shows that we were still creating good chances. And obviously, the volume of chances as well it will help that, because we had 16 shots, but Everton had 15 and 6 on target. Yet we still had, nearly double theirs, not quite double, but 0.82 to their XG to 1.41 for ours. So we were creating good chances. We created one big chance, which is obviously the JBL one, which was absolutely awful, by the way, which we'll get on in a minute. 6 corners. Andrew, I'll come to you next on this one, but I think them stats show that the attacking intent was there, as Sam said, and a few people have said in the comments, and I think me and you both said it on our fan reactions, Andrew. But the attacking intent was there. But unfortunately, the quality just wasn't. I think that's what it is for me. I think, again, and I've just realised how awful this looks if you're watching on Instagram, by the way. But I have read the stats out for you, so hopefully it paints a picture. We will get rid of it. But I think them stats do show to me, Andrew, that the attacking intent was there. We were better going forward. It was just the lack of quality again. Like how that JBL chance is on target at the very minimum. Just goes to show how poor we were in front of goal.
Yeah, I know we'll get onto it, but JBL's made the wrong decision there for me and tried to tip it over the keeper. But we did have a lot more attacking intent. I completely agree with you there, and that's the thing that we've all been screaming out for in the last few weeks, especially after last week where we didn't have a shot until the 85th minute or something. And I think the introduction of Edwards has definitely had that impact there of us going forward, but it's the lack of quality that we've got in those attacking areas. I think if you go back and look at the game, I think Humphreys has 2 or 3 of the shots that we have.
I think Big Les had a couple as well from the edge.
Big Les, Florentino had one with his left foot that he skied into the corner of the Jimmy Mack upper. The ball fell to the wrong sort of players at the wrong time, and that's the ball falls to Brozier or Fleming in some of those situations, and I think we at least hit the target. But that's we went forward with intent, and like Sam said, if we'd changed the team up a little bit and actually got more attacking players on towards the end of the game, and we do go and lose that 1-0. No one.
I think that's where these comments that Jamie's put on screen now. I think where these sort of comments come from, and again, Sam sort of mentioned it. It's the design. I feel like Parker has set out to win the game for it's a rare thing, but set out to win the game before the match because of the attacking intent. The attacking intent was there, and you can see that he's gone to try and win the game. But there's no desire within that game to then make the correct attacking changes, and then it leaves fans like Jamie thinking, well, there's no desire there for Parker to win the match. I feel like there was before the game, hence the starting lineup, hence the attacking intent. I feel like Edwards was a big reason for that attacking intent. I do want to get onto Edwards individually recently, because I know a couple of us do disagree with sort of like Edwards and stuff, and there was a few comments on Twitter yesterday especially, and I've seen one in the comments already about Edwards, so we will get onto him. But I feel like the subs he could be making have always been a little bit poor, and I feel like yesterday as well, just take Loren off and maybe go for it, stick Fleming on for Loren, something like that. But again, it's just like for like. There's no real change of formation. There's no real change of gear. And I noticed he said yesterday we went full throttle for the win. But if that's a car at full throttle, then it needs an MOT, because, we played better and the intent was there. But again, full throttle's probably a little bit much. Daniel, I'll come to you next, mate. Your thoughts on yesterday's performance and result, please?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this performance and try my best not to mention Scott Parker, because I think it's pretty obvious. my opinions on Scott Parker. But I'm more pleased with this performance. There was some really good positives to take from the game. I think personally, Marcus Edwards has to start every game. He's not the absolute best player in the world, and he has his issues, but he is clearly a threat going forward, and that's something we've lacked all season. I think from the 60th minute to about the 75th, even 80th minute, I think in terms of build-up play, that's probably one of the best we've looked. You can argue, we are against a weak Everton side that aren't performing well, but even with that, I do think there was times where, momentum-wise, this was looking really good at times, and that's ultimately a positive and something we've been dying for all season. It was good to see Bashir Humphreys come back. I think he looks pretty solid in the back as well. I was worried with Dubravka coming in the first half. His distribution was a bit off, and I was thinking, here we go, we're probably going to have another game where Dubravka's a bit off, but he's proved me wrong. He's gone back to how he was at the start of the season. So it was good to see Dubravka bring some quality saves like he did at the end. I was absolutely screaming at my TV when Fleming didn't score that shot. I couldn't believe he missed it. And I think that then the kind of moments have defined this season where we just aren't clinical enough. When we have them moments, we have them chances, we don't utilize them to our best. And I think players like Jacob Lawson, he just can't start anymore. I just don't think he helps us anymore upwards or in that sort of final third. I think he slows build-up play, he loses the ball too often, and when he's in them clinical moments, he's not crucial enough. Hard. And we're in a situation where we've took Anthony off because his performance starts to go downhill. Jacob Larson's now in that position on the left, and his performances are starting to go downhill. So it's now a case of, well, who do you put there? It's like I said, the issue we've had all season is that going forward we haven't had a clue what we're doing, and I feel like this game was a real positive because it felt like there was some organisation, especially in that second half. And it's really unfortunate we wasn't able to get a win at the end. But I was happy with some of the stuff I saw. I quite liked Florentino when he came on. He had some moments. The ball that he passed to Kyle Walker, I think, was a great ball. It was a shame that Kyle Walker absolutely lobbed it to the other side and nothing came from it. But yeah, it could have been a lot worse that game. We could have been easily embarrassed, but we had some great moments, some individual players looking like they actually wanted to give it a go. And it's just a case of the players that have, like Marcus Edwards, that's it. We've seen his quality. We've seen what he's like. We know he's going to help us going forward. It's not a debate now. He has to start going. He needs to start playing for us in the future games and just kind of seeing where it goes. But I completely agree with Sam in the case of, performances. That conversation's over. Now is the time for results if we want to try and stay up. And this is the moment where we have to really utilize like the quality we have and work with the best kind of situation we've got, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And I agree with a lot of stuff you're saying. There's a comment on screen there from Lee. I said the Fleming chance was offside anyway. It was given offside. The linesman did pull it back. Obviously, I was on the game. I go on the game, so I'm not sure if it showed the actual thing on TV. But somebody on Twitter was saying, well, it was actually onside, so if it went in, it would have counted. I don't know. I haven't even had a chance to watch it back yet. I was on the match. Go on, Andrew.
Either way, as a striker, even if it's going to be pulled back as offside, you've got to be clinical in that moment.
Yeah, 100%.
They'll be picking that in the back of the net.
Yeah, well, I agree, and I think that goes back to the debate earlier in the season that it's not a proper out and out striker, but is anybody that we have at the club? Like you could argue Foster and Brozier are, but they're not really delivering. Fleming's the only one scoring the goals. Yes, some have been penalties. But yeah, I agree with that. Sam, I want to come back to you. The Bruno Larson chance was also given. I didn't notice that, if I'm honest with you. The Robinson, I didn't notice that if it was. Lee says the replay shows him offside. That's referring to the Fleming one. But we will get onto both of them in a minute. I have actually got the screenshots created for both. Well, for the JBL one, I will create it in a second. For the Fleming one, but I want to come to Sam next. Because obviously Dan's just mentioned there that Dubravka, in the end, did end up saving us, made two really, really good saves. One was like a proper world-class save. One was a good one down to his left. And I want to come to you because you mentioned the fact that Everton looked good going forward. And they did, didn't they? And the fact that, I won't bring the stats back in again because of how poor it looked on screen, but the fact that our XG was 0.4 something, 1.4 something, and theirs was 0.8. The fact that they're creating these chances that you look at and that we didn't, forcing the keeper into good saves, shows that, again, the lack of quality up front, doesn't it? And it just goes to show that you are right when what you say is how dangerous they looked going forward on the counter-attack compared to us. They looked better going forward to us. And in the end, even though we were the better side, our keepers ended up saving us in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a big supporter of Martin Dubravka. I think he's arguably a signing of the season. I think the saves that he makes are absolutely brilliant. I think I think for me, it's that traditional goalkeeper of when the ball's in the box and when the chances actually come, you've got a goalkeeper that's just going to stop the ball going in the back of the net. Like, it's become a more recent thing of having a goalkeeper who can distribute with the feet and can play out from the back. And dare I say, we don't need that. We didn't have that when we had Pope. Pope's not a player who played out from the
Definitely
back.
Don't need it in this style of play.
No, 100%. And this is what I mean. And I think I'm in this position now where I can almost see the patterns of play that we're trying to play. This playing out from the back thing, that was a company thing, and that was something that consistently let us down. We don't try and play out from the back as much anymore. Dubravka does just hoof the ball forward, and I actually do think in certain situations it works. And now we've got Brozier, and he's proven that his hold-up play and his ability to keep the ball and bring the ball down and play left and right, I think that's where Dubravka's distribution works. I think in terms of saves, I mean, that one was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that was my favourite one.
That's an unbelievable
great reaction save.
But the Barry save is, dare I say, even better because it's actually a better chance. Like, the Beto thing, it's a flick, and it's one that would...
Yeah, he's just flicked it there. You can see him just next to the
and
ball.
it had disturbed the keeper's movement, and Dubravka's got down really well. But Barry's he'd taken the ball into the box and he'd shifted it onto his stronger foot, and he'd got ahead of the defender, and he got a good strike to that. And that's nestling in the bottom corner against a lot of teams. So Dubravka getting down to that is brilliant. Honestly, I think he's a cracking goalkeeper, and I think we looked defensively a lot better, and I do quite like this setup of Josh Laurent playing in there, and I do like this situation of having Bashir Humphreys back. I thought he played class yesterday. But I quite like this defensive setup, and Dubravka's a huge part in that, and he's once again, because I think actually in the sense of what I was saying, if we went for it on the 70th minute and we shoved loads of people forward and that goal goes in, I don't think I'd have still been annoyed. Like, I think I would have said, oh, we've actually tried to go win the game. But in this moment, we were still 5 at the back. We were still playing the same style of play. So that chance obviously annoyed me because it came out of nothing. And that's where Dubravka is fantastic this season, in chances where chances shouldn't be and shouldn't have happened and we should be able to close that chance down before it even gets to that. I mean, I think before that cross came in, we blocked the cross twice and nobody got to the ball.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's where Dubravka's fantastic, because I obviously I'd have been devastated if we conceded on a counter-attack still playing 5 at the back. So Dubravka's just doing his job perfectly at the moment, and he's been arguably the best player that we've had all season.
Yeah, I think you make a good point for signing of the season, especially. I originally, this is 2 months ago, before I get shouted at, but I originally said Hartman. But I think at the minute it's very, very unlikely that he'll get it. Ollie Emma says that was a great save. Lee Richard says, can we kick Dubravka for the championship? I was thinking about this earlier, thinking about players who would leave and who would go. I don't want to get into the debate now. But Dubravka was one of the ones, due to his age, that I felt will probably stay if we got relegated. I feel like maybe, your Steves, your Hannibals, players like that will go. Hartman, this was before the reports came out this morning, he will go. But I felt like Dubravka will be one of the ones that stayed. Official Platinum RP says, worth mentioning, I thought the turf sounded better yesterday. Shows what attacking football does. I agree with you, mate. And I saw you comment earlier about the Jimmy Mack and the atmosphere when we got a corner. It just wasn't relevant at the time, so I didn't bring it on. But I agree. There was a moment where Perez sort of like had his back towards an oncoming player, and he didn't know he was there. And the Jimmy Mack screamed, man on. And then he realised there was a man on. And then he managed to sort of like pass it or whatever, or shepherd it out of play. I can't remember. I think he shepherded it out of play. And he even applauded the Jimmy Mack as they say, like, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I feel like it was better yesterday. Jordan's in the chat. He says, think 5 at the back is the way to go from here on out, but I'd like to see Humphries replace Loren in it and be alongside Ekdal and Steve when everyone's fit. That's probably a shout, to be fair. I don't necessarily mind the 5 at the back as such, because it's been okay in the last couple of games. However, I do feel like we do need to show more attacking intent within the games and make substitutions that isn't 5 at the back. And if there's an opportunity to go and win the match, try and go and win the match. Now, unfortunately, it's time to throw a couple of players, not under the bus as such, but it's time to talk about the missed chances. And I will bring the image in first. And Andrew, in fact, no, Dan, I'll come to you first on this one. The JBL chance. I know you've referenced the Fleming one already. That's why I want to come to you on this one. But I think this is the easier of the two. The ball's bouncing, I guess, so maybe not. I just felt like he has more time than Fleming. Maybe it was Fleming's fault. He didn't have enough time because he took it first time. I haven't seen it back just yet. But I felt like he had a lot more time. It was a brilliant through ball from Edwards, who put it on an absolute plate for him. The only caveat where you can say maybe it's not as easy as it looks is the fact that it's bouncing. But just look at where he is there. He's just hit it. I don't know why he's tried to put it over Pickford. Just you've got all the time in the world. Just let the ball fall down, slot it past him. All it takes is a nudge. That's all it should take here, is just a little nudge. And for whatever reason, JBL's picked the wrong option. He's gone to try and dink it over him. And obviously, as we're all aware, it's gone over the bar. Yeah, he's got to be putting that one away, hasn't he, Dan?
Yeah, 100%. It's a real kind of shame to see how JBL's turned out, because if I remember the player of JBL when we had him under Vincent Kompany, you know, he was the one, I believe, who scored the most goals for us, although it wasn't.
Yeah,
really,
he was the leading goal scorer that season. I personally was buzzing to see him back. But
yeah, 100%, and so was I.
Signings.
Because I remember under the company season, he was brave. He was the one that was really pushing forward, really wanted to, you know, get off his chances. And I'm not seeing any of that with him this season. I have no idea what has happened to him. It feels like a player that is too panicky, too skittish, and doesn't really trust in his own ability anymore. And anytime he has the ball, you watch him and it looks like he doesn't know what to do with himself. As soon as he's got a play or a bit of pressure from any sort of, you know, opposition, that's it, he crumbles. And I think this is one of them moments where he's been given such a clear-cut chance. He should absolutely, you know, slot it in the back of the net, but he panics and he doesn't know what to do, and he goes straight over the bar. It's just, it's a real shame to see the kind of player that JBL has turned out to be, and that's no disrespect to the man himself, but it's just, from the player under Vincent Kompany, this player that was really brave, really wanted to push forward, really want to, you know, get off his chances, and we're now looking at a player that doesn't know where to be, doesn't know what to do, and when he's in moments like this, he panics. And it's, I think, after these moments and other moments we saw JBL in this game, he cannot start. He needs time away from the pitch, and it's just, yeah, it's just a really, really poor situation, to be honest.
Yeah, Snape Dogg. I actually weren't even joking. I read it as Snoop Dogg. That's atrocious from me. Apologies. Snape Dogg 84 says no composure, and I agree. That's obviously what Dan's just saying there. He said he looked a bit panicky, and I feel like it's probably a confidence thing with JBL. He probably knows he isn't playing very well at the minute. Jordan Rushford says he's got to take a touch. He doesn't need to hit it first time. Like his 1-on-1 versus Fulham, he should have taken another touch and taken it around the keeper. And I completely agree. It's one of them where he does need more composure, and that again comes down to composure. Andrew, I'll come to you. There's another screenshot of it here, which probably makes it look even worse. It just, like, he dinks it. It just put it like to the left of the keeper there. Just put it to, and if you are trying to dink it, like, you don't need to put anywhere near as much height on it or as much power on it, Andrew. If again you're going to the left, just slot it round him. Just wait. Or Jordan says take a touch. I agree. Taking a touch should be a lot better and giving time to compose himself. But I don't even think he needs to. Just let the ball come down and then slot it past Pickford there. Wait till the ball settles a little bit. And the thing that annoyed me the most about this, and this is just me being pathetic, is that Jordan Pickford celebrated it like a save. It's like, you did nothing to that, mate. He'd argue he rushed out and narrowed the ankle, whatever. But I just think it was poor composure from JBL. But your thoughts on it, Andrew, mate? He can take a touch. He could just slot it round the keeper's sort of like left there corner. But all in all, he shows a complete lack of composure, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's made completely the wrong decision. Like, there's so many options that he could take. And, like I say, he can take a touch. He can slot it to the left. He can even hit it across goal to get it into the other side. All right, fair enough. Probably harder chance, but he could even hit it across goal to get it into the other corner. And he doesn't need to put that much power on it to lift it over. And
yeah,
it's just one of them that completely sums up our like the entire game. But yesterday, that summed up our season, where we finally got ourselves into a really, really good position, finally got a really good shooting opportunity, and it's fallen to, at the moment, probably the one player that we don't want it to fall to, because he's devoid of confidence. And
does anybody have any confidence in that squad at the minute?
I'd probably argue maybe Brozier after his goal last week and Edwards, but yeah, it fell to the wrong player for me. And I think it would have boosted his confidence had it gone in, but it just fell to the wrong player, and he's just made the wrong decision for me. And I think it's probably time he does get dropped.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is time for him to be dropped. But Lee says in the comments here, if we drop JBL, he'll play Anthony, and he's even worse. I actually don't think he is. I think Anthony's the better of two evils at the minute. I genuinely think Anthony scores that. I know he's not been great recently. I know he's done some poor mistakes, but Anthony can be quite composed in front of goal. Again, at the minute, you could argue he wouldn't have much composure, merely down to the fact that he's not playing well at the minute as well. But obviously, Andrew said there that that's the one player you don't want it to fall to. It is JBL, and obviously that one fell to JBL. However, we had another chance late on, which was given offside. I will caveat with that. I'm not sure whether VAR would have given it or not, but this one fell to Fleming. Sam, I'll come to you first on this one. I think the JBL chance is easier, mainly due to the fact that it's a lot closer. That's the JBL chance on screen. Now, yes, it's bouncing. But that one, Fleming takes it first time. The defenders are closer to him. He's under more pressure. That's probably why he hits it first time, just watching it back then for the first time while trying to create the screenshots. But that's probably the one player you do want it to fall to, him or maybe Brozier after his goal last week, as Andrew said there. But another chance missed, Sam, and I saw a comment from Graham earlier where he just said, the comments that I made on the full-time fan reaction, yesterday about there just being a lack of quality is probably the correct version. And again, there, it just shows a lack of quality, doesn't it? I think 99% of the time, other Premier League sides score both of them goals and win the game 2-1. But again, it's a chance that we've missed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to this whole thing that we've said before about being in the Premier League. When you get your chances in a game, you have to take them. There's no question about it. You do not get, unless you are a top 6 team, you do not get 15 clear-cut chances to go and win a game. So when you get those chances, you have to take them. And we had those chances. And I actually think the Fleming one, this is just me, and I've not looked at it back afterwards, but even in commentary, they were saying, I don't know, if that goes in, I reckon they'll have a really good look at it. I actually don't think it would have been offside, and I think that just does make it worse. I think Fleming should be scoring. But again, it's this thing of why is Fleming come on the 88th minute? Because as soon as he gets that chance, he's not warm, he's not in the game. He's had one chance, and it's about 45 seconds after he's come on. It's not like it's just that little thing. It's not a big thing because you're still a Premier League player and you're still on big money, so you should be able to finish it. But
yeah, I agree. But you want everything you can from the manager to be able to give you the best chance. So I do agree with you.
If he's in the game for 15 more minutes or 10 more minutes and that chance then comes to him, he's more in the game. He's more. It's a very small, minor part of it, but I do think it plays a small factor in it. He should score. JBL should score. We should have scored and we haven't. And that's frustrating because in a game where we've played well, we come away feeling like a 0-0 draws a defeat. And that's a rare commodity for us as fans. We haven't had that this season where we can go into a game and go, a point maybe isn't actually justified. And then go into the JBL chance, and that's the comment that you've got on screen now, which is what I actually wanted to get onto, is I actually do agree with that. Like, I'm not JBL's biggest lover this season. I've said this since day dot. I think when he's on the pitch, I don't think he gives us any kind of attacking outlet. I don't think he gets past his man. He's very backwards. But one thing that I will give for him is he does play in that kind of striker's position. No other player in our team would have made that run that JBL did. From the left-hand side, coming inside into the centre of the pitch and running off the shoulder of the last man. Nobody else would have done that. Anyone that says Jadon Anthony would have been in that position has not watched the bloke play football ever. Jadon Anthony hugs that left-hand touchline like it's his best mate. He goes nowhere. He doesn't go wandering anywhere. If he comes into the centre of the pitch, it's absolutely by accident. There is no way that if Jadon Anthony's on that pitch, he's anywhere near that position going through on goal. So I actually fully agree with that statement. However, JBL is playing that poorly at the moment that I just don't see how he can possibly keep his place in this team. And that game absolutely shows why. One of the best chances of the game from one of our most creative players doing something that, again, no other Burnley player would have done. No other Burnley player would have got the ball in the half term, drove through the centre of the pitch and chipped it through two defenders to get us a chance.
Yeah.
So, again, that's why Marcus Edwards was playing absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and while I agree with you, we'll get on to Edwards in a bit. I do want to have a specific chat about Edwards, but before I do, because that is coming up next, we've mentioned a couple of times the offside. Obviously, we don't have any VAR shots, whether or not Fleming will have been offside. You can't really tell 100% on that. And the ball, if you look at the frame where the ball's been played in, it is probably already released from his foot. So it's probably a frame or two earlier where the actual offside would be. But I'm looking at that. It's so difficult to tell. It's one of them. And the fact that the defender's got his arm out, they go off the sleeve. So Dan, I'll come to you first on this one. I know it's difficult, mate. But looking at that, do you think he'd have been on, off, or is it one of them cases where Sam just mentioned, like, we know that VAR would have had a good look at it, and hopefully they would have come out with the correct decision, rather than the bias against Burnley, which they quite clearly have. Obviously, I'm joking, but you know what I mean. It's one of them where it can be quite tough, can't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's like you said, it's really hard to kind of decide whether this was offside or not. I think, if he was to slot it in the back of the net and VAR was to have a proper look at it, maybe I could have a better answer for you. But it's really hard to say. It's very thin margins, and we know what VAR is like with us. They will work on thin margins. If we give them an excuse, they'll use it.
Yeah.
So if I was to guess, I would say VAR would try find anything to use it against us, but all in all, it's too hard to say. It's very close. I would like to say, if he was to score, it would have been given, but knowing VAR, it's impossible to say, to be honest.
Yeah, Andrew, your thoughts on it? I know it's difficult, mate, but looking at that, do you think it's onside, offside? What do you think the scenario is, mate?
Controversially, I think he's offside, like ever so slightly.
To be honest, I think looking at that, he probably is just off.
Yeah,
probably
looking at that, he just looks slightly closer to the line. But it's these camera angles, like you can't tell without the technology at that point. Like, it's that tight, you can't tell without the technology. So for me, it looks offside. And ironically, I actually think that, just to follow on what Sam was saying about him, like the chance, I ironically think that Fleming's made the wrong decision as well there with the chance. I feel like he should have tried to tip it over the keeper. And that's like the thing of where we are at the minute. It's just those little decisions. But yeah, looking at that, I think it's offside.
Yeah, I brought the moment in that he hits the ball, just because you said there, dinking it over the keeper would probably be the best option. Obviously, Pickford's a lot further out there than what he was with the JBL chance. Obviously, look at the JBL chance there. So I think based on that, I think chipping it is a better option than what it was for JBL. I don't know. I think at best he could take a touch, but the defender is a lot closer to him than what it was on the JBL situation.
And it were a good effort. Like I say, he kept himself composed, and if it had been half an inch to the left, it hits the post and goes in the back of the net. So, it's not the worst effort from him. But yeah, I just feel like chipping it over the keeper could have been the better option from him. But he's only just come on, and it's like his first.
That goes back to what Sam was saying, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like his first touch of the game as well, so you can't be too critical.
Yeah. But again, if the manager brings him on quicker, then he's obviously a lot sharper and could make the correct decision. Sam, we'll come back to you, mate, because I logged onto Twitter this morning and was absolutely astounded to see Blue Noses crying all over the app about the fact that they should have had 2 Stonewall penalties, was the words that they were saying. In fact, before we do that, I just want to quickly read out some of the comments, because that's what we do. We are the People's Podcast, of course. Lee Greenwood says, it's not clear cut anyway. Put it in the net, then make them look at it. Exactly that. You've got to get it in the net first to make them look at it. Lee Richards says, he looks offside, but it's tight. I think he looks an inch or 2 ahead of the Everton player. I do agree. Phil says, that is a bad miss. I'm glad it was given offside. Jordan says, I know Anthony has been poor, but that through ball was very good. And if it was an assist for a winning goal, I'm sure he'd have been given credit by most fans. Graham says, I agree with giving Evans more game times. He definitely grew into the game. But for the first hour, he didn't really threaten at all. He didn't threaten, Graham. I agree with that. But he was the reason why we were on the front foot, in my opinion. But we'll get on to that in the Edwards bit. And Chris is in the chat, Mr. I can't be asked to come on the podcast anymore. He says he hits it with the wrong foot. Should wait for it to come across with his body and use his right. Not sure when he uses his left, which I'm joking, by the way. Chris is at work. And Lewis says, since when were you giving chances to players outside the general starting 11? Do you think Parker will try Jadon Bernal on the left? He's been very sharp every time he's had a chance. Maybe, mate. We'll get on to stuff like that probably on a different podcast. But yeah, I do want to talk about the Everton tears. Well, not the Everton tears as such, but the stuff that they were crying about. Because I am genuinely right. Genuinely, I don't see how you can say that this is I love it when I bring these screenshots in, by the way, because I can still see everyone's faces in the bottom of my thing. And Dan always comes so close to the screen to try and see what's going on. I'm not sure if you're watching on the tiniest TV in the world, mate. But I think for me, right, and the Everton fans argue with it, and you could say I'm looking at it through claret-tinted glasses, and I'm obviously biased towards Burnley. I always feel like I try to be quite fair with stuff like this. Cast your mind back to, I think it was the second game of the season, potentially even the first. Leeds were awarded a penalty against Everton because of a James Tarkowski handball. I don't think that should have been handball personally. I think it hits more of his chest for a start. But he leans kind of like into it with his arm. I think that's why that one's given, but I don't think it should have been handball. I think Dewsbury Hall gets given one against somebody recently, maybe Chelsea. So this is why the Everton fans are complaining, because there's no consistency. And I will start this by saying I agree with that, but I don't think them two should have been penalties. I still don't think the Hannibal one against Liverpool should have been a penalty. He turns his back on it a little bit, and his arms are a lot wider than what Anthony's are, and it's hit slower. So I think that's the reason why that one's given. But just because other penalties are given incorrectly doesn't mean we should all now give loads of penalties incorrectly. I don't think it's a penalty personally. Look at how close Diblin is to Anthony. Look at how close he is there, and he smacks it with some pace. What's he supposed to do? Just not have any arms? Like, his arms, as you can see, yeah, they're a little bit out, but they're in towards his body as well. Like, the elbows are in towards his body. The forearms are out. It hits the forearm. But I agree with Jamie Brown's comment there, and this is a problem. It's a lack of consistency. I don't know what's handball anymore these days and what isn't, and that is the problem. There's no consistency. Sam, we'll come to you first on this. I'll let all of you chat on this one. But your thoughts, have we got away with one there, or should it be a penalty?
No, I think I agree with Jamie's comment perfectly. It's exactly what I was going to say of, you see them given and then you see them not given. I completely agree.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I agree. His hands are in an unnatural position. I agree. Like, I have to sit back and say there's no reason why Jaden should be turning his back with his hand out like he's trying to do some kind of Saturday Night Live science. But it's about 50 centimetres away from him. Like, it could never be a penalty from that close. That's what we've always been told, even if it's in an unnatural position, unless it's unnatural to the point where he's like doing a starfish, then I don't think you can possibly say that is a penalty. It's too close. It's hit with some pace. He can't get his hands out of the way. It's different to Hannibal's, where it was from the outside of the box and there was, at least 2 meters between him, and Hannibal's arm was dramatically up in the air.
Yeah.
This is not like that. And if that would have been given, you'd have felt so devastated by it, because
I literally shouted, "Oh no!" I thought, here we go again. Defended quite well, like we did against Liverpool, just to be screwed over by an arm.
But do you know what though? I think this is the thing, and I'm going to say it, and I know I've said it every single week, but I also thought the referee that we had yesterday was absolutely awful. Like, yeah, I mean,
I agree. Craig Dawson is an awful referee.
Mate, we had 2 free kicks in the D not given as free kicks, and the game played
hacked down on both occasions, which is
literally hacked down. The one
Rozier and Big Les,
but the one right at the end of the game, we literally that is a stonewall free kick, and it's one of the easiest free kicks to give in the world. I think he had an awful game. So if he'd have given that, it wouldn't have surprised me. And again, it's this annoying thing in VAR. VAR would not have got involved because it's not clear and obvious. It's not a clear and obvious error from the referee. So if it was given, VAR would have given it. They wouldn't have looked at it and gone, actually, it is too close. The VAR would have given it. So it would not have surprised me if all this came to fruition. We are lucky from the perspective that we've actually not had the intervention of VAR looking at it and really deep diving it. I know they had a little look at it, but we're really lucky that the referee didn't give it in the moment, because I think if the referee gives it, I don't think VAR overturn it. VAR looked at it and went, listen, it's a non-starter, leave it. He's literally, might as well be stood next to him when he takes the shot. So for me, I absolutely think it's not a penalty. I think it's the right decision, but I also think that we've seen them given. So again, it just brings me straight back to, we have no idea what these rules are in football. We have no idea what a penalty is and what isn't. We have no idea what a handball is and what isn't. So again, it's an issue for the Premier League. It's not an issue for me. I don't go to bed thinking about it at night, but it's an issue for the Premier League, because, I mean, Jesus Christ, you go into every game and something could happen and you turn around and you go, we sit here on these podcasts and have these conversations all the time, and I find it so boring. Oh, is it a penalty? Why should it be? Why couldn't it be? If someone had beans on toast on a morning and had a really full stomach and felt really happy, and they've come to the game and they know they've got a Chinese later on, they might sit there and go, oh, leave it. No, don't give that. But if someone's been shouted at in the morning and the missus has been like, oh, you need to do this and you've not taken bins out, and they go in a bad mood, they give that. So it's just.
I wondered where you were going with that when you started with beans on toast.
But this is what it's just stupid cycle of, oh no, but we've got this intervention from VAR and all this stuff. Because I am actually slightly defending Everton fans in this as well, by the way. VAR was brought in to try and make things better for the Premier League, and VAR is not at all making the Premier League better. We've got referees who. He hasn't made this decision, and I do think it's the right decision. But from an Everton fan perspective, you are sitting there going back to that Tarkowski incident and saying it's basically identical. We got a penalty against us. Why have we not got that? So I completely understand where they are actually coming from. It's not an issue for both of the teams on the field. It's an issue for the Premier League. It's one of the most frustrating things to have added into football ever.
I agree. And Lee says here, VAR don't get involved in 50-50 refereeing decisions. They're there for when the referee has missed something that everybody else has seen. That's what it's supposed to be for, Lee, but I'll disagree with you. I feel like they're constantly getting involved in 50-50 refereeing decisions and just adding another layer of uncertainty, and that's a problem. And it's good to sort of like have Sam on the show today, because Sam's a big fan of the NFL, which is the main reason why he doesn't like doing the Sunday evening shows. He makes up some bullcrap about it being about work, but it's not. It's because the NFL's we all know Sam. But the thing is, if you bring in VAR, right, and in a sport like NFL, I think you like it as well, Dan, actually. Apologies. Yeah. In a sport like NFL, the rules are black and white. I believe. I don't watch it myself, but a lot of the rules are black and white. It either is a foul or whatever you call it in NFL, or it isn't. But in football, there's like the handball rule is so many grey areas. There's so many grey areas in sort of like the penalty decisions. Offside's black and white, fine. Offside's offside. I don't like the fact that you cannot be offside by your toenail, but offside's offside. I would personally change the offside rule so there has to be daylight between the two, but that's a different debate. But VAR in a sport like football isn't going to work, but it's always just going to add more layer of uncertainty when there's too many grey areas, and that's the problem. So I do see, and I started this by saying I understand the Everton fans' frustration, but I don't feel like just because other ones have been probably incorrectly given, in my opinion, that we should now give them all incorrectly. Andrew, I'll come to you next. Your thoughts on the Anthony handball? Do you think it should be a penalty? Do you think we've got away with one there? Do you think Everton have a right to feel aggrieved?
I think from what we've seen this season, it's a penalty. I don't think it should be a penalty. I completely agree with you and Sam there that it's too inconsistent, and the distance away from the player who hits the ball to Anthony is that minimal that there isn't a right lot that you can do. And I agree with you both that, you know, the Everton fans should feel aggrieved because they've had two given against them, which again aren't penalties. But I will disagree with you, Joe, about VAR and the he said something there about it being like inconsistent and stuff. I don't know if any of you lads have been watching AFCON, but the referees there have been absolutely bang on with every VAR decision, bar maybe one. And
well, it's just the way we're using it then, maybe, because there's a couple of
that's my issue. The issue isn't necessarily the technology, because it works in all of the sports. It works in most other countries, but we've got the same incompetent referees using it. Craig Pawson didn't give that penalty yesterday, but next weekend he'll be on United versus Liverpool, and there'll be some controversial decision.
And as we all know, in a game like that, VARs take centre stage.
Exactly.
Look at the technology that we've got. It was Sam that sort of like pointed it out to me a couple of years ago in the Vincent Kompany season. I remember thinking at the time, like, yeah, it's probably right. And I've noticed it since then. So yeah, you are right, Andrew. I think in them sort of, if it happens in United, Liverpool, they go to VAR, they make a big deal about it, and then they come to a decision.
Well, it's not just it being the big teams. It's you've got the same bloke who's made the mistake in the match yesterday, who's then going to, or not necessarily made the mistake, but the same bloke who's made the decision yesterday is then going to be in the VAR box at Stockley Park watching it next weekend.
Yeah.
If any of us messed up at work and made the wrong decision, we wouldn't then be just given basically a promotion the next weekend. We'd be expected to put that decision right. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no
jeopardy. That's the best word. Yeah.
There's no consequence for them making these mistakes. And that's my issue. Like, VAR, it works in other countries, it works in other tournaments, works in other sports. We've got the awful referees here, and then your head of the referee is Howard Webb, who we all know was one of the most bent referees for United anyway. So it's all just sort of, there's no consequence.
Allegedly. He was allegedly bent.
But look at the Champions League. Like, the Champions League is for me, it's the biggest proof of how VAR works well. You've got referees who want to referee the game. You've got referees who take accountability for the decisions they make. VAR is there to help them with the decision that they maybe potentially get wrong. So if you ever look at VAR decisions in the Champions League, they don't take 3-4 minutes. They take a minute, maybe 30 seconds. They go into the rear, they say, right, what have I missed? Right, well, I've got this. Right, okay, brilliant. Send me to the screen. I'll go have a look. Right, I'll go over and have a look. And I, the referee, will make the decision based off of what you're showing me. It's not about, oh, hang on a second, VAR said something. Right, tell me what I've missed. Right, okay, talk about it for 2 more minutes. Hang on, I don't quite understand you. Wait, say it one more time. Wait, what was that? Oh, I missed a handball. Brilliant, okay. Wait, what did I miss? Stop talking about the same stuff. Like, we watch these decisions happen for 3 or 4 minutes and get talked about for ages and ages. And we sit here and say, we don't know what is, we don't know what isn't. And the referees, though, in the Champions League, they might as well walk around with a rule book because they know it inside and out. Every decision that they make, they go, oh, actually, there could be something there. Brilliant. Right, go and look at the screen. Yep, I've missed a handball. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Right, it's a penalty. You don't sit here and wait for weeks and weeks and weeks for a decision to be made. And you don't sit here with this same kind of, there's a grey area. There shouldn't be a grey area in a rule. It's a rule. There should not be a grey area. It should be, here's the rule. If the rule has not come to an act, then you need to make the decision and change that. That's how it should be. But we don't have referees that are capable of doing that. We have referees that are blanketed by VAR, and then they turn around at the end of the game. They still get the money, they still get everything, and we still get managers going on midway through the season on a game on a Tuesday night, and no one sits there and talks about it. And a manager will go off for an interview and he'll go, I just don't know. Like Dyche did it the other day. Dyche did it after the City game. The referee wasn't on our side. How are we still having conversations about referees and the role that they play in a game and the magnitude of what it actually means to these clubs? We are the best league in the world, the highest financial grossing league in the entire world. This to a club like Burnley, this to a club like Everton, this to all these different clubs is absolutely astronomical in terms of money. And it shouldn't be about money, but it is. And we sit here and we have these conversations week in, week out about where's the grey area and this is the rule and this is this. These have genuine implications on football clubs. If we get relegated this season, we lose loads of revenue. We've had opportunities, less opportunities because we don't get the ball in the box very often. But we've had opportunities this season where we can have arguments for things. We can have arguments for how VAR hasn't done things for us. There's teams in the league that will say this almost week in, week out. And the fact that we're still having these conversations, we've got incompetent referees who are blanketed by VAR, and VAR is not utilised unless it's 4:30 on a Sunday and it's big clubs and it's on telly and everybody's watching.
The thing is, we've been having this conversation for 8 or 9 years now. It's not like VAR's this new thing that's been brought in this season. It's been in this country for so long now that there should be an understanding of how it works by the referees. And we're still having these conversations this far into the process. It's ridiculous. But to go back to it, yeah, it's a penalty for me because of what we've seen this season.
Yeah, fair enough. Dan, I know I said I'd let everyone chat about it. I will very, very quickly let you have a say, but we are sort of like pushed for time already, and there's a couple of things I still want to discuss. Do you think it's a penalty or not?
Yeah, I'll be very quick on it. I think Everton are clutching at straws, but I can't blame them. Like the lads have said, VAR has been a mess, especially with the foundations of the referees. We've seen decisions like that being given. We've seen decisions like that not being given. So I don't blame Everton. I do definitely think they're clutching at straws, but you know, we've seen it happen before, so I can't be mad at them, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. And thank you for the very quick and concise answer. And because of that, you will be rewarded with the first person to talk about the next subject, Marcus Edwards. Now, I was astounded. When I put the full-time tweet up, I had a response off somebody on Twitter. And by the way, what I didn't realise is some of these people that give me abuse on Twitter do actually watch the show. I don't know if you all remember, there was somebody on Claret's Mad or Up the Clarets or what it's called these days who said something like, oh, the TurfCast lads all want Parker out, but they're all under 30. So that'll be why. And I tweeted that saying, I'm actually nearly 38, but thank you for that. I'll take it. That guy actually came up to me on the turf yesterday and introduced himself. So if he is listening to this or watching this, hello, mate. Thank you for that. It's a great moisturiser, by the way. Thank you for noticing. The point I want to make is there was somebody on Twitter yesterday saying, well, you got your Edwards. What difference did it make? Absolutely nothing. And I was like, what game are you watching? Now, it's interesting this because I know Andrew said some stuff in the chat yesterday, which we'll get onto. I'll let Andrew come in second, I think. But I, for one, think the reason why we showed so much attacking intent yesterday wasn't necessarily down to the tactics, because we still did play 5 at the back. So the setup itself wasn't exactly more attacking. But I think Marcus Edwards is the player that plays in the pockets. He'll find the space in between the lines. He wants the ball all the time. It's something that you can't see JBL and the other ones doing. And Anthony, he wants the ball all the time at his feet. He's constantly asking for it. He's constantly coming inside to play in the pockets. He constantly gets the ball on the half turn, turns, runs at defences. And basically, as I've said before, drags us 30 or 40 yards up the pitch. But I just don't understand how people don't see what he brings to the side. Yes, I understand that he can be frustrating because sometimes he will get the ball, he'll run at defenders, a pass will be on, he won't pick the right pass, he'll try and turn and he'll run into a cul-de-sac and get crowded out, or he won't pick the right pass, he'll play it left instead of right. His final ball needs to be better. I agree with that. And what I said on the fan reaction yesterday was his final ball was better and he was able to find so much space in the pockets like he does, he wouldn't be playing for Burnley. But if you can't see what Marcus Edwards brings to the side, for me, genuinely, I'm not sure what else I can argue with, because his performance yesterday I thought was fantastic. It just needed that final ball to be better on more occasions. But again, I'll caveat that by saying he did put it on an absolute play for JBL, so he should have had an assist. But I understand the frustrations with his final ball. But in terms of his all-round play, he brings so much to us. He really does. Dan, your thoughts on Edwards overall, rather than his performance yesterday, but as well as his performance yesterday?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things that you said. You know, the way I look at Edwards is that I think Edwards is possibly our most confident player to a point where it's even arrogant, but I quite like that. But I can also see why people are so frustrated with him, because he does become quite selfish with the ball at times and loses the ball. But I'd rather this player that we have now that is very confident with their own abilities to a point where it's arrogant, rather than a player that's scared of their ability, not brave enough, and just not making any sort of impact on the game, you know. So I can kind of see what people are saying, but I do think it's very narrow-minded looking at it, because Edwards, especially yesterday and the times that he's come on previous games, which I'll touch on, I think he does change the game. I think I know I keep saying momentum, but he really brings a lot of momentum, and he's the kind of movements that he does in terms of going into the sort of penalty area, or the balls that he's playing to, you know, to add some sort of threat. He's the one that's doing that, and every time he has the ball, obviously, like I've said, he does have that arrogant side to him where he is a bit selfish and he's trying too much. But I quite like that. You know, I feel like that's a play that we've been dying for all season, to just give it a go, just trust in your ability, push that ball forward, make something with that play, and that's exactly what he's doing. And we've seen it previously when he's come on, and you know, I'd argue that it's frustrating to see him, that this is the game where he's finally started, because I've seen the best example for me is Newcastle. As soon as he came on Newcastle, you could see moments, and that ball that he crosses into the penalty area is a fantastic ball. And I think from that moment, we should have really thought, hang on, that maybe this is a player that we could possibly use for the full 90 minutes. I know that one of the main issues I had with Edwards for this season was that, can he do the full 90 minutes? I don't think he can, but that's, to me, you know, playing for the first 60, 70 minutes, bring a player on with fresh legs, no issues there for me. And I know that, you know, in terms of physicality, he can be kind of bullied. But I think as Edwards continues to start, which I hope is the case, we're going to see a player that is going to become a lot more clinical, a lot more threatening going forward. And I'm excited for that. Like I said yesterday, from the 60th minute to like the 80th minute, I'd say we looked pretty sharp. And for the first time in a long, long time, I feel like there was some organisation in that forward, in that attacking form. And I said it all season. I said it last season that, you know, last season we might be getting results, but we've never figured out our attack. Whereas yesterday I did see glimpses of this is kind of coming together. This is sort of working, and a key part of that is Marcus Edwards. So I like I said, I can see why people are kind of kicking off about him, because he does lose the ball. He is arrogant in his ability, but he's well in his rights to be arrogant in his ability. He's a completely different type of impact for us in our attacking form, and it's a player that we have to continue using going forward 100%.
Yeah, I agree. And I think yesterday, again, I saw a comment from someone yesterday saying, I think it proves that he's more of an impact sub rather than a starting player. I'd completely disagree with that as well. I think
I
he needs to
disagree
be
with that.
starting. Anthony Ralph, apologies. Joe the Butcher strikes again, said Edwards offers creativity. Yes, not everything comes off, but he attempts to take players on, which no other player has this season. More game time will make him sharper, and he's exciting. Lee says definitely need to utilise Edwards and Trezor more. This mouse is absolutely awful. Jamie Brown says the inclusion of creativity players like Edwards and Trezor is about the only thing that lifts the crowd. Adam says, yeah, would like to see Trezor have a start to see what he can really do. I agree with that. I think now he's obviously in the conversation a bit more. He'll be getting fitter and fitter every week as he plays. I'm not sure what his fitness situation is, but I would like to see Trezor utilised a little bit more now as well. Stuart says Trezor's the only one we should be investing in. Simon says Edwards made so much difference. It's unreal. Yes, he gives the ball away a lot by doing too much, but I'd rather that than having another winger passing it backwards and not running at people. And that's exactly that. The alternative is JBL and Anthony and backs against the wall for 85 minutes until you bring Edwards on. Lewis, when I finally get there with this godforsaken mouse, I'm going to order a mouse when Andrew starts talking. Genuinely going to order a mouse on Amazon. Says only person on the pitch yesterday who showed genuine attacking intent. Everything he did was positive. There was never a thought in his mind to go back. At least says Edwards is easily our best attacking player. We just need a left-sided version of him now. Adam says nothing wrong with taking on players, getting into those 1v1s. Jordan says we've seen all the wingers. I think I was meant to say wingers rather than winners because we don't really have any winners, do it? Given starts now. None are perfect by his long stretch. Edwards, though, is one as a fan you want to watch. Graham says, I'm for giving Evans more game time, but this Lovin is a little over the top. There's a reason why he only made his Premier League debut yesterday at 27
I completely
years
disagree
old.
with that.
Yeah,
I completely disagree with that.
I don't understand what more you want him to do, Graham. The reason why he was so much better there yesterday is because of Marcus Edwards. But from one miserable sod to another, I like Graham. I'm joking, mate. But I can now bring Andrew in. Andrew, what were your thoughts on Edwards yesterday? By the way, we'll just end. We'll just go from Graham's comment to this one from Sean. Anybody calling Edwards are stupid? I didn't say that. I just read out a comment from Sean. But Andrew, give me your thoughts on Edwards, please, mate.
I am conflicted with Edwards. I agree with a lot of the comments that have been put in about him. I also agree with Graham. He was our most attacking player. He was the reason that we were better in attack yesterday. He looked sharp. He looked excited to go forward on the ball. But he also thinks he's the second coming of Messi. And we are all slated Cole Yarshaw last season and the year before for getting the ball, driving at defenders, and making the wrong decision by running into traffic rather than passing the ball. And the amount of times yesterday that Edwards did that was so frustrating when he had options. I get it when there's no options there, but there were so many times when he did have the options. And I think there was one point where he'd ran past 4 defenders or 4 Everton players, had the chance to give the ball to Perez on the wing, and instead decided to try and take on a 5th player. And that's when we lost the ball. They got a counter-attack, and it was when they got the shot off that went just fizzing across the goal. And that's when I put in the chat, this is why I don't like Edwards. Didn't mean I don't actually like him, but I got a lot of stick last season for saying about Edwards getting in the box and just taking the ball, trying to do his little tricks, trying to take every single player on. And that was my issue with him last season. He was constantly trying to take every player on and then put the ball in the back of the net himself. I agree that he is the most creative, and we need players who are going to try and take players on. But at the same time, you've got to, and this is my issue with a lot of the team, and I keep saying it, decisions at the right moment. There's moments where you do take those players on. There's moments where you pass it to someone else. And that might come with game time. It might come with him.
I mean, it's like I said, it's not going to be perfect in them moments because he's not that sharp. But for me, as John says there, he's the only one trying to make things happen. The alternative, like I said, is the Bournemouth game, where it's backs against the wall with JBL and Anthony who offer nothing, and then we actually start to look decent when Trezor and Edwards come on. That's the alter. He's the only one trying to make things happen. I get the frustrating moments where he picks the wrong thing.
I'd agree to an extent, but then you've got players in those positions. Like I say, this moment that sticks in my head. Pires was the furthest player forward. If Edwards passes the ball to Pires, you've got Pires there trying to make something happen. He's giving him options. How many times do we have a throw in or a free kick or the ball in a decent area and there is no one giving the player on the ball options? And was that like I'm sat there screaming, give him an option? Edwards had options and decided not to use them. There's a reason that this lad was on loan to us in the Championship last season.
But I'll caveat that as well by saying how many more goals did we score in the second half of the Championship season than we did in the first half of the Championship season?
I would agree.
Part of that, a lot of that is Marcus Edwards.
I'd then caveat that by saying Marcus Edwards only scored one of those goals and only got 2 assists from it. It was because more players were.
Can I ask you, Andrew? Can I ask you?
In my opinion, it's not just about that, though. It's about him being in the pockets, making things happen. He doesn't necessarily
100%.
do it directly himself, but he will get us 30, 40 yards up the pitch with his driving.
I'd agree to an extent, but like I say, there's moments where you do need to pass the ball. There's moments where you don't try and take it past every single man. Even Lionel Messi, who was absolutely fantastic, is one of the best players in the world, passes the ball at moments. I agree. His ball was superb, but our biggest issue with Koleosho was that he just runs into traffic when he's got the ball. Why is Edwards not getting the same?
Because Edwards will do all the things in between. He will come into the pockets. He will make things happen. Koleosho doesn't do any of that. Every now and then he'll just get the ball and run into traffic. Edwards offers so much more than Koleosho, but at the same time, he does then run into traffic, whereas that's all Koleosho does for the majority of the time.
Do you not think, Andrew? Do you not think, Andrew, that when Edwards has played for us, especially for yesterday, that he has given us so many options? And I agree with you, he is arrogant, and there is times where he could play cut past Pires, like you said, but he just loses the ball. He has that element to him. But do you not see the side of that? Edwards has brought a lot to the game yesterday. He provided a lot of options, a lot of sort of chances, a lot of build-up moments. And I think, like someone said in the chat, I don't like this sort of narrative of like, oh, well, Edwards at 27 went on loan to us for the Championship. That tells you everything about the player. Well, hold up a minute, not to compare Edwards to like this player, but Jamie Vardy didn't have his Premier League debut till 27, and I'm not saying Marcus Edwards is anything near like Jamie Vardy, but what I'm saying is that, this age thing, I just think it's a null and void argument because we're looking at a player yesterday who brought in a lot of key moments, a lot of options, was creative with the way he was playing, and it's something we've been crying for all season. I completely understand the argument of he is arrogant. There is times he will try and take on 5 defenders and lose the ball, but it's not the same as Koleosho where he's just running down the track and he's losing the ball. He's like Joe said, he's going in the inside pocket, he's crossing the ball over and trying to get something else, and that's something we've cried for all season. I don't think we should be like, oh well, you know what, sod Edwards because he is arrogant and he loses the ball.
I would agree, and that is why I'm very conflicted with him because, like I said at the start, I completely agree that he is the reason we were more attacking yesterday. And if your other options are Brun Larson, Anthony on the right, or Tuna, as much as I do like Tuna, it has to be Edwards. Like, I completely agree with that. Edwards is our most attacking player. Edwards is the reason we were so much better yesterday. Edwards was the player that got me got me leaning forward a little bit more and going, go on. Like,
leaning for your phone.
I completely agree with all of that, but at the same time, those are my issues with Edwards. Of he needs to understand when to pass the ball. It's the same as the issues I have with every other player making the wrong decision. It's the same issue I have with JBL chipping the ball over keep yesterday when he had other options. Same issue I have with Fleming using his left foot to try and slide it past the keeper when there was other options. Same issue I have with every other player. But
Yeah.
he is our best attacking player. So
Right.
Fair enough.
that's why I'm conflicted.
We're already past 1 hour 20. Sam sat there patiently for half an hour while us three argued. So I did want to talk about Bashir Humphries, but we're not going to have time. So what I will say is, well done, Bashir, for coming back into the side and playing very, very well. But
Just
Sam,
wait for my opinion on him.
Sam, I will come to you on this one. Then I'll read some comments out. Let's try and get it. I don't want to go any longer than 90 minutes on the podcast, because the podcast should not be longer than the actual game of football itself. That would be an absolute shambles. But your thoughts on Edwards, please. What he brings to the team? Are you on the sort of like the let's play him more sort of role, or are you on the what does he really offer sort of role?
Oh, I mean, I've got 2 eyeballs, so I can see what he offers. No offense, Andrew. Sorry, but no.
I saw Andrew then sort of like nodding along as it's saying.
Can we just caveat that I actually said I do like Edwards, and
To be fair, he has
player.
I think for me, I've got 3 things based off of what Andrew said that I kind of want to go back to. The thing about Koleosho, Koleosho was doing that in a winning Burnley team who were on the front foot in every game and added nothing. Marcus Edwards came into the team. We scored more goals. Stats are not the overall consensus of a player. So 1 goal and 2 assists, but Marcus Edwards consistently would get to the byline. Marcus Edwards consistently puts the ball into the box. The other thing that people don't talk about is defenders have to mark that player. And I can guarantee every single player on that pitch would have been absolutely buzzing that he got brought off on the 85th minute 100%. Because he was hard to mark. He could turn left, he could turn right, he could beat you for pace, he could get the ball down the byline. It's not always about the statistics that a player actually does. I reckon, and I've tried to look for it and I can't find the stat anywhere, but I reckon Marcus Edwards put the most crosses into the box yesterday of any Burnley player on the pitch. Bar corners, Lucas Perez must have put in about 1 million. But then the final thing for that is the final point that you made, which is where you've talked about when he runs at players and he loses the ball. My biggest thing for that is I've watched 17, 18 games before that of Jakob Brun-Larsen running towards the ball, turning back and playing it to his left back, who then plays it to the centre half, who plays it to the other centre half, into midfield, out to the right-hand side, and then back to the full-back again. I've then also watched Jadon Anthony, who gets the ball played down the line, and we know he's got pace, and we know he can beat his man, but he doesn't. He flicks back, and then he plays the ball inside. And then we play the ball into a congested midfield, we lose the ball, and then we're like, brilliant, we're back to defending again.
This is what I'm saying, though, when I'm saying there's moments to do that. There are moments to run at every single player and try and take everyone on. But when you have options there with players in attacking situations, and I keep going back to this moment with Perez. Perez was on the wing with no one marking him. He gets the ball out onto the wing. Edwards can then make a move to get into a little bit of space and receive the ball backwards. He doesn't have to do it all on his own. And that's my issue. Like, he is, I keep saying it, he is our most attacking player and he is absolutely brilliant. And I completely agree. I would rather have him running at defenders than Anthony and Brun-Larsen passing the ball back. But at the same time, he needs to understand that it's a team game. And it's, you aren't the only player there. You can pass the ball and expect them to pass it back.
The thing is, though, this is not a full disagreement of what you're saying. And I know I am going to stop. Don't worry.
You saw me look at the clock. You saw me look at the clock. I might as well just gone like that. Sorry, go on.
No, my only point to it is, and it goes back to exactly what Dan said, and I do know what you're saying, Andrew. And this is not me disagreeing with everything that you're saying. Dan made the point of having a player who has a bit of an ego. And we had that with Cornet. Cornet was in a team of players who played the system and passed the ball and stayed in position. And Cornet was the anomaly. And every single fan absolutely loved Maxwell Cornet for that reason, because we've watched season upon season of players doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And he didn't fit that mold and he was brilliant. Now, my argument to that is, if he plays the ball out to Pires, I've got, maybe not Pires particularly, but other players, I've got 17 games worth of footage and memories and all this stuff of what would that guy do when I play him the ball. If he plays the ball out to Pires, there's no guarantee that ball gets whipped in first time. There's no guarantee that Pires actually runs down the line. But there is a big chance that he plays the ball out wide, Pires comes back and plays it back into midfield. So even from a Marcus Edwards perspective, he's been sat on the bench watching every single one of these games. He knows exactly what these players are going to do and patterns of play and all that stuff. And I actually don't think it's as deep as that. I don't think he's watching them going, these aren't going to do anything. But I do think there is something in. I back my own ability. And I'd much rather watch a player try and take 5 players on and try and actually create something than watching a ball go out onto the left-hand side and watch Pires play it backwards and inside and the ball not getting the board. And then Everton counter-attack and they have a chance on goal and we sit there and go, well, we could have done that. That's what Marcus Edwards is trying to do. He's trying to get the ball, pick it up in the pocket, spin his man, get forward. If he takes an extra touch and it goes too far, fair enough. I'd much rather watch that and get the fans off the seat and get the turf behind them with watching a player do that than watching Jakob Brun-Larsen run towards a defender, stop the ball, turn back and play it to a left back.
Yep.
Much rather.
Bingo.
Right. Thank you. That was a good debate. I enjoyed it. And I will end it with this. Marcus Edwards made 3 key passes yesterday. That's the most in the Burnley side, and nobody on the pitch made any more than Marcus Edwards. So again, it just goes to show that yes, he does sometimes pick the wrong option, and if he did pick the right option, he might have made 5 key passes. I mean, far and away the most on the pitch, but only Mikolenko also played 3, and he was playing them down the line, obviously from the left-hand side of the defence. So I think that goes to show that Marcus Edwards is the glue that holds us all together. Anthony Ralph says, I'm buying what Sam is selling. Well, Sam, you need to become a salesman because apparently you're very good at stuff like that. Anyway, we need to move on before Andrew and Sam and Dan also arguing again. I said I wanted to talk about Bashir Humphries. So I will use the opportunity to do this here. It's the man of the match. Get your man of the match votes in. I know I said earlier on that I will do another Scott Parker chat. We've run out of time. I said I'd do a Bashir Humphries chat. We've run out of time. This podcast is going to be longer than 90 minutes. So this podcast is going to be longer than the actual game of football itself. The fact that we've managed to squeeze 90 minutes out of a 0-0 at the turf is...
as well.
I agree. We are more entertaining. I would agree. But let's talk about man of the match. I am actually going to use this opportunity to vote for Bashir Humphries, and I think to talk about Bashir Humphries, but I'm not going to vote about him. I think a lot of people will vote for Bash because he came in his first game, played really, really well, didn't put a foot wrong. But I am actually going to go for, drum roll please, and Andrew, you're going to hate me, Marcus Edwards, again, because I just feel like a lot of that performance yesterday, and the reason why we played on the front foot, as I've already explained, so I don't need to go into it, was because of Marcus Edwards. But again, just cast your mind back to what I said half an hour ago about Marcus Edwards playing in the pockets, that sort of thing, wanting to run at defenders, and the fact that he made 3 key passes, and he should have got an assist as well, as should James Anthony, to be fair. But for me, it's Marcus Edwards. I'll come to Andrew next, just because we're definitely not going to get the same vote, and it'll make it more interesting. Andrew, your vote for man of the match, please, and your reasonings for that.
Are you ready for this? Marcus? No, I'm joking. Ekdal. I thought Ekdal was exceptional in defence yesterday. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And he's proven a lot of people wrong who said that he's not Premier League quality. He's absolutely superb.
He's great in the air. He lacks a lot of pace. I'll stand by that. But he's superb in the air. So yeah, not the worst shout in the world. I do agree with that. I just want to quickly stop before I go to Sam. Lewis Thompson, you absolute legend, who's donated £4.99 to the stream. You can send super chats if you do want to support your favourite podcast. Remember, lads, we've all been here now, lads and lasses, sorry. We've all been here now for 90 minutes. So if you ever want to send a super chat, maybe now is the time. But you can do that, of course, over on YouTube if you are watching on YouTube. But Lewis Thompson says, for me, Josh Loren needs a shout for man of the match after a tough game at Bournemouth. Thought he was brilliant yesterday. On to Newcastle now. Hopefully more points up the clouds. Thank you so much, Lewis, for supporting the stream and supporting TurfCast. Really do appreciate it. And thank you very much. But again, get your man of the match shouts in. I will put them all at least on screen and try and read as many out as possible. Sam, your man of the match for yesterday, please.
I was also going to say Ekdal. I thought it was great. I thought in the air, it was brilliant. I don't think he put a foot wrong into the tackle. It was good playing the ball forward, and he had that kind of forward-thinking mindset of getting the ball to the furthest section of the back or the back five, whatever it was. And I thought that block from McNeil's free kick as well should not be understated. It was brilliant, so I thought it was class.
Yep, fair enough. Jimmy the Sunderland fans in the chat, he said, "I'll do, lads, I'll do, mate." We're coming towards the end of the show now, unfortunately. I appreciate it's an earlier time, so it will cut a lot of people out. But Jordan Rushton says, Dubravka, man of the match. We got a point because we saved on a day we couldn't take our chances. At least he stopped at defeat. I don't necessarily mind the Dubravka shout. The only reason why I didn't give it the goalkeeper yesterday, even though I agree he made 2 great saves, is if you give it the goalkeeper, it makes it look like it were backs against the wall and the keeper's, kept you in it. And in a way he has, because of the 2 good saves. But it definitely wasn't backs against the wall, and we should have come away with a win. Lee Richard says Dubravka, man of the match for those 2 saves. Simon says Humphreys. Anthony says Dubravka. Sean says Bashir Humphreys. Lee Greenwood says Ekdal, and John Robertson says Bash was sensational. Dubravka's 2 saves cannot go unnoticed. And Dan, I'll come to you last on your man of the match shout, please, mate.
Yeah, obviously I've been praising Marcus Edwards a lot this episode. I think Bashir Humphreys looked really good as well. Really liked when Florentina come on. I think he had some really good moments, Florentina. But for me, like some people have said in chat, the one that has got us the point home, it's Martin Dubravka. Them saves were unbelievable, and I don't think they should be overshadowed. For a keeper to make saves like that, which we've seen in the past, I agree with Sam. Probably our signing of the season, and yet again, he's kept us in a game. And he's for me, he's brought the point home. As much as I love Marcus Edwards, unfortunately, nothing came from it in the end. So I've got to give it to Dubravka. He's the one that really, really helps us take something home. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Can't necessarily disagree with it. I just obviously, like I said, it gives you the impression that it'll back against the wall where it wasn't. But yeah, it does make the 2 great saves, and without him, we're losing. But again, normally what I'll do at the end of the show is just kind of like push it back out to the lads and say, is there anything else you want to discuss? But I'm not going to do that because I'm here for another 45 minutes. But Mus Trucking says, this is turning into a Ramble 90 after 90. I love long streams. Yeah, great to see. Jimmy's got a lot more patience than I have. And to be fair with Jimmy, who does the Ramble 90 after 90 over at Blaze Ramble, it's his job. It's not my job as TurfCast, unfortunately. I'd love it to be. Don't think it ever will be. But if, like Muzz, you have said, damn, here's me looking forward to the 6:30 live stream, only to get up now and miss most of it. Well, first of all, why are you waking up at 12 minutes past 11, you lazy sod? This is where he tells me he works nights, and I think fair enough. But if, like Muzz, you have missed most of the stream and joined late, don't you worry. As soon as I press end stream, over in that top right-hand corner, the stream stays on YouTube for you to watch back at your leisure. It stays on Facebook for you to watch back at your leisure. If you're watching on Instagram, tough. It doesn't stay on there, but you can head over to Facebook or YouTube, preferably YouTube, if you can, please. But yeah, and also I will be uploading the podcast because the reason why I've done this stream earlier today is because I have plans later on, so I don't want to be rushing back for 6:30, and I've got work at 8, so I don't really want to be rushing around and doing stuff like that. But I will be uploading the podcast at some point today as well, so it will be there in your podcast app. I'm going to try and do it now if I can, so it will be there very, very soon. But thanks everybody for watching, thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you next time. When next time will be, I don't know, because I didn't do a pre-game show for the Everton match because the Everton fan couldn't do pretty much. Christmas is a busy time, and the Newcastle fan can only do tomorrow, and I'm struggling tomorrow as well. But we will definitely do a full-time show at some point, even if it is just me. And hopefully after Christmas, we'll get the production for the podcast back up and running as and when. The pre-game shows, the full-time shows, the post-weekend ponders, and the pre-weekend ponders. But thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.